Hopefully Connor. Top
Yeah,
Shagger, of course.
from the prestigious team British Armada of the upper division.
British who, but yeah. Fortunately, picks and bans have unfortunately glitched out for this game, so we are just going to go straight into the match, but we do see the bans here in the top left. Fairly standard bans coming out from each team's normal
I think the
picks.
lack of emoji ban was a little bit questionable.
People just, it's lower division, man. Ymoja kind of goes in between either or. Like, they either value her so much that, of course, they'll pick her, or she'll just get ignored and go to free cast. We do see a solo lane Kamazots with a Kukulum matchup. Fairly bog standard, but Kamazot should have the current favor for that. And
they have a
Go
pretty
ahead.
good team into the Cabrakan, I think. They're all have a way to escape Pizzle.
Yeah, the only one who can possibly struggle is Ymoja, but even then, if the positioning's right for Riptide, it can still get out of the tectonic shift. But to say that though, Ping Diff do have the lineup as well. They have a really strong lineup for being able to get rid of a single target or even just multiple, getting tectonic shift into a Sunbreaker or I'm a Monster is absolutely huge. There's just a lot of setup for Ping Diff as well.
Very true. I think that the Hui's going to have to be really careful with his beads usage this game, otherwise it could be a bit of a sticky one.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to. He can jump out of River's Rebuke, so that's fine. Of course, you can beat an all his acts, but then that'll mean you don't have any CC immunity, so you can get pulled into a Powwow or taken away by a home sweet home, burned down. But there's not really a lot of beat burners for VHS. The only one I see for the moment is an Olarax, as we can see him jumping in, previously level 2, but not landing anything, unfortunately. And I don't really see many beast burners, unfortunately, aside from an Olarax, potentially a Riptide if it's used within a River's Rebuke. And of course, they can keep the Cabrakan, but that's only keeping a Cabrakan in there, potentially maybe a Kukulum, but that's about it. Everyone on Ping Diff otherwise has escapes. They're able to walk away completely free.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe a Magi's shelter picked up from the Cabrakan here, because I feel like he's going to need a shell for the emoji rule as well.
Absolutely. Phantom Shell could go very well, but so far we have Blink on the first relic. Not much to be seen there. Of course, a Blink Cabrakan will always be absolutely huge. But it depends if you can make the calls for it and get the follow-up that's needed from your team.
The solo laners are taking some pretty big damage over there.
Yeah, Mirandus and Slither both had quite low health bars, respectively so, but hopefully that Tainted Steel or Sliver just giving a slight edge over Mirandus, but even then...
I do like the Tainted Steel for the team. Very good pickup.
Tainted Steel has always been an item that I've valued very highly. It's 15 power and 15 of each procs for also 15% anti-heal. I see Kozlai jump in for Benny here, but does not hit Ricochet, unfortunately, so both
also quite
players just end up
interesting to
walking
know.
away.
The Hui's going into the Devourer's Gauntlets. I've been trying that out recently with him, and it feels really strong, especially with the pen from his 2.
Yeah, and especially as well, Devourer's Gauntlet recently being buffed, now giving, I believe, 10 flat penetration when it's stacked. So, Devourer's Gauntlet is a pretty solid, strong item, and has made its way back into ADC builds for now.
I'm quite happy. I think we've had Transcendence for too long of a time at the moment. Good to see Devs making his way back into the meta.
Yeah, and even in the mid lane meta, now that Booked Off even itself has 10 flat pen, now we're seeing double stack. We had a Warlock's meta for so long because, hey, you can get 75 stacks, you can get 175 power, about 300-ish health, I believe it is, and 10% pen. Now, of course, they nerfed the Warlocks a little bit to make it so that 10% pen is only when it's evolved, but still, those items come in hand. You can actually with mid builds now get away with not having, say, Divine Magus or so. Of course, it'll always be better if you build it, but you can still kind of get away with it because you're only losing about 5 flat pen because Booked Off being able to provide 10 and providing so much power and a passive that converts your mana pool into power is just super strong at the moment.
I'm personally interested to see what the Cabrakan second relic's going to be this match, because there's a lot of things that could be argued. Obviously, there's the shell for the emoji, but also it is a team with a lot of healing. It's going to come into question whether they're going to rely on the Tainted Steel for that anti-heal, or if they're going to go for a Curse Dong.
I don't think the Tainted Steel will actually be enough for Kakalin, and of course, you'll have Tainted Breastplate late game, 50% anti-heal, and combine that with probably a Divine Rune from the Scylla, or maybe
hold on a minute.
Oh, we have Benny just having to jump away from Kozlat as they look to get aggressive, but they're still walking away, and Benny being able to sustain with the emoji heal, but Ulox is coming up on the flank, and we could see he does have Blink available. He could come in, but unfortunately they're sat safe under their tower, and they will not be moving. But Sunbreaker coming out from a level 5 Kozlat, just not able to connect, unfortunately. It seems like both players
wasting a lot of time here.
Yeah, Ulox is wasting a lot of time, which we could see farming. Like, he could have easily done all of the right side of his jungle, but a lot of time sat there waiting to try and see if Benny will push out and see if they will give that advantage. But even then, even if he's able to look for Ragnarok, unfortunately, Benny still has beads up. He can still retaliate with the beads and throw an axe, and then, well, what will that do for Ulox? Is he's possibly had to take a tower shot just to grab Benny in the first place.
I think it was smart for the Fenrir not to go in and waste Ragnarok. I mean, he's against 5 people with beads. I think he's smart to get the units on that before he uses it. Oh, this emoji all coming out.
River's Rebuke coming out from Nacho. Kozlat able to avoid it with Dive Bomb, and yeah, he's just able to walk away. We did see a tectonic shift from the Cabrakan before he died. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to survive as well as Kozlat is able to. And that'll be first blood in the favor of Ping Diff. As we could see potentially. Oh, here comes a Blink Ult from Ulox.
A late
Nacho. Late beats from Nacho using a Riptide to get away, but
Henry needs to be careful here.
Benny caught in the crossfire. Sunbreaker used beats coming out.
Coming in. Big man Jesus coming in for the cleanup. Is he going to be able to finish this 1v2? Kozlat's running pretty low on mana here. I think it should be.
Here comes the Powwow. Kozlat able to beads, but
quite a late beads there. I think if he cancelled that Dargil a little bit earlier, then could have been in a bit of a better position.
Yeah, he could have opted to look for an insta pull, and that would have been really, really good, as that would have pulled Kozlat instantly, or he could have even potentially still pulled the beads really, really quickly, or just gotten a lot of damage off, but unfortunately looked to pull Lagosaurus Rex, which, yes, could have done some for him, but unfortunately it didn't mean anything in the end. But still a good cleanup and follow-up regardless. We saw an unfortunate beads from Nacho, which means that his Riptide was ineffective, but in the end, it's still a good team fight overall. Both players were able to trade, but VHS still weighing a little, Ping Diff still weighing a little bit more ahead. Not by too much, only just about by 1,000 with that first blood.
There are 3 sets of beads down now as well for Ping Diff on 3 people. It could be very, very easy targets for a Fenrir ult. Not careful.
Kozlat being called out by Benny here, to losing half of his health to the Uller combo. Unfortunately, that's probably going to happen, is that Uller Benny is going to be able to take a lot of early advantages in fights. As we see, he's walking up to this purple buff, potentially looking, but Kozlat both using vision shards to try and identify each other, and just Benny at the moment, until those devils are stacked by Kozlat, will have a little bit more of an earlier advantage, as Uller's damage, of course, scales a lot more than Hu Yi's does at the moment.
Both of the ADCs don't have beads at the moment as well, so this could be very easy. It looks like the Darji might be looking to pressure out of this Hu Yi here. I'll go for the purple.
Yeah, but Kozlat has just jumped in. Sunbreaker coming out on Benny, but Big Man Jesus is still prowling and will come for the turnaround. Will come for the flank around of good, but in response, in the mid lane, Lagosaurus Rex using Tectonic Shift, and the home sweet home coming out of Love Mothers, and Ulox will fall to nothing apparently.
I think he
See,
died to the
Apollo
bottle.
coming out from Big Man Jesus, Soul ZZ able to get the beads off in time, and unfortunately, yeah, that'll be it. That's now 3 sets of beads now down, both the beads down now on VHS, and the red will be invaded just off the map camera. And yeah, as we can see, solo matchups currently just looking at 0-0. Surprisingly, Miranda's not able to get any pressure with the Camazots, and the Taint's now the Sovereignty's online.
Yeah,
Slither
I
is going
feel
to
like
be really difficult to kill now.
I feel like once he's got the Sovereignty online, especially with the Tainted, that lane's pretty much just a stalemate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 45 trots and 25 HP 5 is not really much of a laughing stock. That's quite a lot for an early game character, especially Cucullin, who can specialize in, taking mana items and giving just slight advantages of HP 5, such as getting his blue buff and just getting a small passive mana health regen through his mana pool.
I do quite like the Camazot's pick into this team. I feel like it goes quite well into the Scylla, especially when Scylla's locked in place. When she uses a ult, Camazots can kind of just drop everything on her.
Yeah, Bad Out of Hell can very much work out in their favor. As much as you can take River's Rebuke and force escapes, and that can allow Big Man Jesus or Miranda himself to come back out. Oh, I've got a barking dog. Alright, I think. Sorry about that. We do see Big Man Jesus coming into solo lane, but not able to get anything, as Slither does just use Warcry and is able to walk away.
Yeah, it's a bit of a questionable gank, I think. But then again, his TP is on a very long cooldown, so it could force him back. Dargy getting caught out of position here.
Does have the teleport available to ally. Ulock not able to find Ragnarok, but still able to get the Brutalize off in time, but now will probably fall to the home sweet home, which I think is the nothing. And Big Man Jesus will fall to I Love Mothers. Yeah, I think.
Oh, is that killing the duo lane?
That is a kill in the duo lane, but it is not a soloed, unfortunately, as Nacho was present in the duo lane, did use River's Rebuke, it seems, when Coslat had no dive bomb. And that will be an unfortunate fall. Once again, we're seeing in solo lane, like, no, now we have Glad Shield online, now we have it's just sitting about roughly 80 prots. Now at this point, Slither is untouchable. He's not going to ever die in a gank either, and I can't imagine he ever should. Like, Warcry, especially because Warcry, if it's used properly, it is a 35 seconds cooldown ultimate, which provides CC immunity, which means Big Man Jesus should never pull him in any sense. These bugs are really fun, yeah. Well, we are gonna, we do seem to have some issues with Baba Yaga roll and not being able to present the kills properly, and we are just gonna go into a little bit of be right back and a little bit of a pause just to try and see if we can air out some of the issues with kills displaying and stuff on screen. Thank you everyone for your patience. But Yippee!
Alright,
Hello,
welcome back,
everyone.
guys.
We've hopefully now back on course, and everything should be all good. We should see no ghost kills from I Love Mothers, thankfully, who is going the double stacking build actually. Warlocks and straight from Bukatov into Warlocks, able to just get their stacks online because of Baba Yaga House.
I think this Fenrir is going to have a bit of a rough day at the office, trying to get these guys' beads down, especially with all 5 of them starting.
I, rough day at the office. I think you mean he needs to go to the vets because he's probably gonna struggle even more late game, probably because Fenrir, unfortunately, not one of the best late game junglers. Late game, kind of forced to go into a bruiser stand to
I
be
was
able
just
to
about
try
to
and take.
say, I do think he has to go into the bruiser build here if he wants any chance of being useful late game.
Probably most likely will be a beads burner, but we could see some beads out from the Cullen. We could maybe from I'm a Monster as well, potentially, but probably more than likely we are going to see more bead burning coming out of the Fenrir than any of the characters in the game.
Quite a dominant display so far by the Uller in the duo lane. Hui's just not able to find a foot so far in the lane. I think that if Ping Diff is smart, they need to look to posture on the Go Fury here.
Yeah, absolutely. They could. Benny has all of the absolute pressure that he needs because of early game Uller, and they could easily well transit if they're able to look at that and make the communications. They could look to try and pull for an early gold fury, or maybe even try and potentially bait them into thinking they are going for a gold fury and instead go for a pyromancer. Slither, though, feeling the fury of Camazotz in his passive,
Here we go, they are starting up the Pyromancer, and it looks like they're going to be able to do it before anyone even gets close.
Yeah, being able to pick up a Pyromancer just by themselves because Slither just unable to keep up with this, unable to sustain and keep down the sustain of Essence Drinker from Camazotz, and it's just even though he has currently just about 80 to 100 physical procs, it's just not enough from the Camazotz damage. We do see a little bit of diversity as Zasilla, as expected, does go into the Divine Ruin. Whoa, I'll hold that thought as we could have a little scrap here. Lagosaurus Rex trying to look for any kit stuns, but nothing is able to connect, and Ingdiff picking up the Oracles could see it's still out of position here, but no, it seems like everyone's being careful. Boards are being generously placed around the map, especially very strong high wards for Ingdiff, as they very much could well look for that Gold Fury next.
Hui's an entire 3 levels down at this point. This is not looking great.
It is really unfortunate that, and this would be an ADC gap that not in terms of like players that I would expect an ADC gap, but just more so in terms of the composition that would, unless say Ulox comes over and gets the Ragnarok to then get Benny's beads, then maybe we could see a turnaround from Kozlat, and then if he's able to get a kill, get that revenge kill, get that gold bounty back, then we could see maybe Kozlat starting to take more dominance over his lane. But until then, there's not going to be much there. And Miranda's already had enough of his lane. He's going to just start doing whatever he wants and start proxying.
He does have his ult. I think he could look to run through the tower here, like he's going to.
Yep.
What
He's
the
coming
dog
out
doing?
from Miranda's.
Oh, hello,
Ulox.
out of hell. I think he's just going to waste time here. His team should be looking... Oh.
Yep, and we do see the Ping Diff are going around.
He's going crazy with it.
Ping Diff are starting to put Gold Fury as Miranda's just sitting in the
So look
Phoenix.
to steal this. She has ult. I don't think she's going to get it, I'm not going to lie.
She is coming up from behind. She is looking for it. Ping Diff still getting the Gold Fury. We're using River's Rebuke. Unfortunately for them, though, Sunbreaker and Nightmare Monster do blink from Big Man Jesus.
Just trying to get out of there, bless him.
Poor lad, not able to get out, and Big Man Jesus having to use the beads, even though I feel like the kill would have been secured regardless. Legosaurus looking for Tectonic Shift, gets a Paolo in response, does get pulled. Ulog's getting blinked on by Mirandus, and they're just kind of being looked at. And
Oh no.
Ulog's has nowhere to run, no Brutalize, no Unchained, nothing to get him out. And unfortunately, he is just going to not be able to do anything and die. And Slither trying to contest the stolen red buff that Nacho himself is going to take. We love supports with the red buff sometimes.
This is just looking like a very, very, very dominant display so far from Ping Diff.
Absolutely, Mirandus is able to take what current lead he has on Camelot. He's just playing all the time he wants. Like, he was able to get. He didn't even need to bait the Ragnarok. He didn't even take it away from Ulox. He just got Bat out of hell in time and just stalled for as much time as he could and kept Ulox there in Phoenix, which takes one player away from VHS onto him, even though they did eventually let him back, and that means that already VHS are in a disadvantage for trying to contest that Gold Fury away from Ping Diff.
I think the Crusher pickup from Hui was a little bit questionable. I think already being behind, I don't feel like Crush is an item that's really going to let you win a 1v1 against Uller. I feel like he should have just went into the Executioner in Kins and just tried to start pumping out the damage to the front line as soon as he can.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, honestly. Crusher is an item that's mostly built like when ADCs and especially junglers, if they have like the early lead, they already have the early lead and they have strong damage and pressure, then hey, and they have good abilities to be able to proc Crusher as well. And it's like, hey, I can pick up Crusher and I can further emphasize my lead and pressure. I'll do that, but in this case, it's not really worth a pickup for Kozlat because he's already still now 4 levels down from Benny. In terms of trading, it's not really going to do him much, and it's going to be better. It would be much better for him to just focus his build towards tanks, so that when it does come to team fighting, Kozlat will already be being able to hit tanks pretty strongly. And just being able to hopefully ignore Benny as Ulox and I imagine Slither will be going on to him and pressuring him out since it's, well, Uller.
Especially with how much HP this Umoja's building, I feel like a kin size would just be crazy here. I feel like a Crush is just delaying him by longer than it needs to be. Bearing in mind he's already 3, going on 4 levels down at points. The Uller's already picked up the Titan's Bane, so he's going to be doing quite a lot of damage to the front line. So, I don't really personally agree with the Crusher pickup there.
And with the Hydras as well, Uller already basically having 30% penetration. We see a Paolo coming up from Big Man Jesus, only connects on the Legosaurus, but that won't take Legosaurus away.
Legosaurus using the ult just out of frustration there, I think.
Yeah, that Tectonic Shift unfortunately wouldn't have changed anything, so just using that, I guess, does some damage to Nacho. That's really about it. I mean, Tectonic Shift is Cabrakan Ultimate is on a pretty considerable low cooldown. It's, I believe, 75 seconds. That's pretty.
Which is a bit mad. I'm not gonna lie.
It's considering how it is. I mean, of course, it's.
He's got the T2 Pridwood online, so he doesn't have a CDR.
Oh yeah, of course he has. He has 10% CDR for the time being, so that will be about roughly 6 seconds.
Oh wait, Kozlat going crazy. He landed it. Oh no, it's too little too late there. Unfortunately, Uller's going to pick him off. But Kozlat's showing some signs of life, which is good to see after all this time.
Kozlat, Soul CZ unfortunately being picked off in the jungle. It was kind of sad to see from Kozlat. He looked like he had the upper advantage and almost could take it. He had that dive bomb and he had the knockup, but unfortunately was just not able to meet it and met his demise with an unfortunate hail of arrows. We do see a 3-man rotation onto Slither here. He does not have Spirit Mortal. He does have Spirit Mortal Pain and will react with it, but he doesn't have enough.
No.
Just getting enough rage to transform, but it's not in time for Big Man Paolo.
I feel like the Kukulkan's the only person really putting up the fight.
Yeah, I mean, Kukulkan, level 18, still the same level as Mirandus, actually. So he's a pretty big contestant for being able to teamfight the...
Caught with his pants down.
Kraken tried to use Tectonic Shift earlier this time, does actually block a lot of Ping Diff, but still, once again, Big Man Jesus is in front of him. It doesn't matter by that point now. King Diff going for a Fire
It should be
Giant
just
that
a free Fire Giant. I feel like in terms of itemization, once again, I don't feel like the Glad Shield was really enough for the Fenrir. I feel like he could have went for something like Spirit Robe or even Mantle or something just to get a lot of defense online early. Glad Shield, whilst it does provide a little bit of defense and health, just doesn't really give him what he needs when he's in this position.
Well, yeah, we also have to think about it in this way because Brutalize does offer protections when it's being casted, and that does get doubled when he's at max runes, which does make Glad Shield a very strong item, but
Do you think
definitely
it's deep?
not.
And just not in this position personally, given how far behind they are, and he's going to have to be looking to get in there. He's going to need, realistically, quite a big ult to get any value here, in my opinion. I feel like he needs the tankiness of something like Spirit Robe to maybe pull someone into his backline.
We do see Paolo again on Big Man Jesus.
No.
Elox getting pulled, and the late Ragnarok response, nothing there. Miranda's blinking in onto Kazalat. Beadsing there. They're looking at the right Phoenix. Kazalat force use Sunbreaker. Miranda's using Bad Out of Hell, and we see a tectonic shift which came out from Lagosaurus.
Oh no, Silico between a rock and a hard place here.
Aegis and I'm a Monster gone as Home Sweet Home coming out from Mother of Mothers. Kazalat forced back into the fountain. And the right Phoenix does eventually fall. You see Spear of Mortal Pain coming out from Slither, but he doesn't have any rage and is trying to be in front of the team.
Don't do any type of damage to Ping Diff at the moment. Especially with this ADC build, it doesn't really do anything at the moment.
Yeah, and he's offering himself to go into crit as well. He's looking for, I'm willing to guess that's a Wind Demon, but not going to do much. They tried to, Ping Diff tried to go for a mid Phoenix. I think they forgot the tier 2 tower was up, so that was a little bit of time wasted, unfortunately. And yeah, I imagine now Ping Diff will want to reset. They'll go for a Gold Fury, and then, well, they could look for picks, get the left tier 2 tower, and walk up to see if we can look for picks. And at that point, what can you do? Set up the Pyromancer, wait for the next Fire Giant, and then look to siege again. Get maybe more than one Phoenix down, and they get lucky enough with enough picks. Probably just end the game at that point. Kozlat just slating in just about at a 1.67 attack speed with this build at the moment.
Look to pick up a heavy executioner. You never know. Spice it up.
Oh, I mean, heavy executioner is a strong item, but I think with the way this build's going, I mean, with a windy, with a wind demon, you're only a 1.76. I guess it wouldn't be bad to go into a heavy executioner. It would kind of be really strong with crit, but by this point, yeah. Will crit really save Kozlat from being able to actually do damage? I think it really will.
I don't think anything's going to be saving Kozlat this game. He's just... I don't think this has been his game. I don't think it's by any fault of his own necessarily. I think he's just been behind and just remained behind for the entire match.
Interestingly enough, we do see a Sundering Axe coming up from Miranda. It's a very strong solo item. Either both Heroes Axe and Sundering Axe have their own niche. They have their own little different uses, whichever one you want to afford more for. If you want to play more towards your team, which you can do with Heroes Axe, giving an very strong shield, like an 800 shield-ish. 15% of maximum health as a shield every 8 seconds when someone is hard CC'd, or you can just go into just a little bit less procs and a bit more health, and hey, let's do 300 damage to an ability using either an auto attack or an ability every 10 seconds. Teleport tried to come through.
Better, just in general.
Teleport tried to come through on Sliver on that Phoenix, but Ping Diff able to get that Phoenix out in time.
Okay, Bracken gets him under the Phoenix. He's taking no type of damage, but...
Nacho able to get caught between that tectonic shift, but no damage from the Phoenix.
At this point in the game, he's taking nothing. That's 4 ults down for VHS and he's half HP.
I'm a monster, just not even scratching the surface because the emoji heal just neglected basically almost all of that damage.
That is the least threatening Scylla ult I think I've ever seen.
Even with a Soul Reaver, that is just not enough. Oh. I love mothers. You know. Yeah, I'll just pretend to have my eyes closed. It's fine. Fire Giant coming up just in a few seconds. Ping Diff, of course, will be setting that up.
I think even if
But
VHS
will,
steal this, I think they're just too far gone.
yeah, I don't really think, unfortunately, VHS are in a position to try and contest this or even
I think,
anything. Like,
barring a throw, I feel like there's not a chance in this world Ping Diff should be losing this. They're just so far ahead at this point.
it was interesting to see what Slither has devolved into. We see what I see was a perfectly normal build, and now we have Emperor's armor. Not really something. Emperor's armor is an alright item. And of course, we do see Nacho having it, because of course, both Cucullin and Emojo are characters that don't have mana pools. I mean, no, that's not really anything because Empress doesn't have any mana stats. But, and that would make sense for Nacho to have it. Blink Tectonic, but I'm going to have to hold that as Blink Tectonic Shift coming out from Legosaurus, and we do see Sunbreaker.
Powwow.
Blink bat out of hell in the back line.
But yeah, again, lands the ability on Baba Yaga and does nothing.
And Home Sweet Home will pick her up and throw the remaining of Slither, forcing VHS right into the back, and they will siege that mid Phoenix with that Empress armor, as I just talked about. But with Slither, just I'm not really sure if there's much utilization for with Cullen, because of course Cullen wants to initiate. We see a double blink from Mirandus and Big Man Jesus, but the beat's coming out.
Here comes the River. This should be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, and we see Titans just about coming down to half health, but it doesn't seem like they're
trying to go on the
focused
back
on it.
line, but he's like a fish out of water there. He doesn't really get to do anything.
Separated by his team, as they're all focused on Mirandus, and Mirandus is just taking nothing, and that Titan trickles and trickles and trickles until it's over.
I mean, that was an incredibly dominant performance there from Ping Diff.
Yeah, even when it came to the late game scenarios, like with Benny, like Benny had all that pressure, and Ulox never once looked to contest anything. He never tried to force beats for Kozlat and allow Kozlat to make that return that he could have made, which he did almost actually get by himself, but was just unlucky in the favor of minions, and then just a hail of arrows, which finishes him off, unfortunately. But Benny was just able to keep continuing role in his Uller, and Kozlat just didn't have anything, and even with the Scylla, with the Book of Toph, the Soul Reaver, the Upshot, there was just nothing. There was no damage from anywhere at all at any point of the game, unfortunately. Which is really unfortunate considering that Scylla, of course, is deemed as one of the best mid lane mages in the game, and late game mid lane mages. Oh,
I do feel like Scylla's just in such a weak position as a god at the moment, though. Like you saw there, even late game with a full build, she ults the Baba Yaga. Granted, she is in a ult, but it's not even doing a fifth of her HP past her ult shield.
yeah. I mean, I think Scylla is just middle of the middle range. She can, if she gets to that, if she can survive not being snowballed on and she can get to a late game. Of course, she won't do as much as say Baba Yaga will do at the moment. Of course, Baba Yaga, yeah, she got really heavily buffed and favored into becoming top 5. Even with Baba Yaga's atrocious early game, the late game just makes up for it so much, and we can see here in the stats, she straight up doubled the damage that Scylla was trying to pump out late game, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean the damage numbers make sense watching the game.
We do look to see the 3,000 from Yamoja though.
But 14,000 player healing going crazy from Yamoja though. Granted, a lot of that was probably just chilling around the Phoenixes. It's still, nothing to turn your nose up at.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, even with, yeah, we did say that the Fenrir was kind of forced to try and go hybrid, but once again, he just didn't have any pressure on any side of the map. He didn't really try to force anything, and when he did try to force anything, it was just Mirandus was just playing time. That was it. There wasn't like, don't get me wrong, Big Man Jesus, of course, had great power levels in every team fight that there was possible, but still was able to do just more than Ulox was able to bring out. Even when in the early game we saw the two for two in duo lane, and like Big Man Jesus was able to walk out with more than what Ulox was able to get, even if he fell.
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest problems for VHS just in that game as a whole was just I think a few of the picks were a little bit questionable. The Fenrir with around that team doesn't really make too much sense. He does have good synergy with the Scylla and the Who Yields if he can get them pulled in. But the problem when you're running only a Fenrir in a team like this is he's going to really struggle to get the beads. And as you saw, all 5 members of Diff did go for the beads, their first relic there, which is very smart. But I feel like the Fenrir is not getting much value. And again, like I said earlier, personally, in my opinion, I believe that Scylla's just not a strong god at the moment. I think even when you get her to that coveted Scylla late game, I just feel like she doesn't do as much as other mages at the moment. And with a lot of gods, especially into gods like Camazot, she isn't able to blow up the gods that dive her so easily.
Yeah, unfortunately, with say when you have a Dodgy and Camazot's blinking onto you, she still is really, really squishy, and she doesn't have the self peel that Baba Yaga can have. She doesn't have, she didn't have the Warlocks at her hand to make her just a little bit more tankier in terms of health wise. And of course, she does have low base prots, and yeah, so she would just get very much easily blown up. And unfortunately, unlike, of course, we see a lot of the top mid laners like Yu Huang, Baba Yaga herself, a lot of those gods are in themselves are able to provide self peel, and they're able to dish out just a lot of range damage. Scylla, of course, does have range damage, but also non-confirmable just by a small margin. Where you have Yu Huang to Dao Zatuman, which yeah is almost impossible to not get that ability to set up Flames of the Phoenix or anything of that sort, or where we have the Baba Yaga potion, which is a slow, which can go just straight into her one, and just being able to secure that damage easily. I think that pretty much wraps it up for discussion there, and we are going to take a little bit of a small break as we get hopping and ready for game 2, which will thankfully have picks and bans this time.
Hopefully, on God.
On God, for real. Hmm?
All right, guys. Well, we're just gonna head into a quick break now in between the games, but we'll catch you on the flip side for another epic game of Smite.
Hello, hello, gamers.
Hello
Welcome back
guys, welcome
to
back
Game
to Smite Battleground of the Gods.
Smite Battle Pass.
Smite Battle Pass, yeah.
Wait, yeah, right. We do have Battle Passes now. This isn't, that's not a Fortnite joke I can make anymore. This is reality. Anyway, hey, we're 1-0, yeah. I don't even know anymore. I've been completely thrown off of track. As we are waiting for the bans of the misspelled VHS, we do see a Capri first ban coming from Ping Diff.
I think we
Pretty
have to
standard
expect a
ban as
Dargy
usual.
ban after that last game. It was a pretty dominant performance in my opinion.
I would be very surprised if Dodgy ends up getting through again, but maybe they might look at somewhere else. Maybe they could look to, say, get rid of even Camazots, maybe, perhaps, as well. They could look to...
I don't really think that the Camazots was that much of a problem. Not that Miranda's isn't a terrific player, but I don't really think that was the biggest problem. He didn't really get into many of the fights.
Oh, of course. I mean, the biggest problem was, of course, the Dodgy and Paola, but you gotta give respect to Miranda's where it is. Like, he was able to do a lot of diversion onto him and, like, being able to distract all the way in their fountain just to allow them to get a goal through. Guan
It's
ban coming
true, it's
through,
true.
that's
I feel like a
fairly
player of
standard.
Miranda's caliber, though, I feel like he'd be able to do that on pretty much anyone.
Cupid ban coming out from Ping Diff, that's something that's Cupid. Cupid's a strong pick, don't get me wrong, but I don't really something that I think I would leave to like a second phase ban more than anything, to be honest.
I wonder whether Ping Diff are going to look for the same sort of a thing here, or they're just going to look to switch it around for game 2.
Well, they do have first pick this time, so anything is in complete range for them, so I mean, if they do get Daji through, they can just look to run it back on the Daji because, of course, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hades ban coming through on VHS this time, actually pinged it for themselves, opting to get rid of Daji for themselves, which is, I guess, makes sense if you want to take away.
It is indeed Thorbin time. Ping Diff pick up the Thor.
Of course, I would expect that, of course, you don't want them to play the Daji and try and run it back, but so that's understandable, but not wanting to take it for yourselves, that's something interesting, but yeah, it's Thorbin time. We do see Thor pick sometimes has been banned, sometimes hasn't been. I think there's some grounds as to whether, of course, Thor screams oh so powerful considering of his wall buffs, which now applies with Anvil of Dawn and now does damage to itself. Sia Najar and Ganesha pick coming from VHS, also both very strong picks. Ganesha, absolutely insane support now, with just so many buffs coming out of Ohm and just overall Dharmic pillars and remove obstacles.
I'm wondering
Very
whether
solid
the
abilities
emote's
in
going to
general.
get picked up from Ping Diff.
Or something I didn't even get to talk about, the Ratatasker ban, that's just standard as it is, and as we await the second and third picks, which hopefully we should see maybe the Emoji again, or it depends. I mean, Emoji already is fine into Ganesha. I mean, you can stun out Ohm, and while Ganesha can use remove obstacle and get out of River's Rebuke, that's forcing Ganesha to get a move away, and that means that he can't peel for his teammates in a sense because he has to use it to get away himself. That means he can't help his team, which are probably stuck in a River's Rebuke. But it seems like we're going to be maybe seeing, and it is locked in, we see a Sylvanas, which is an interesting pick. Not really favored against Ganesh, because unfortunately Ohm providing knock-up immunity towards Ganesh and being able to stop Sylvanas from pretty much almost entirely casting his kit. The column coming out, which is something that was played by Miranda's normally, of course, and it was played by Slither, but not played very well, so maybe Miranda's.
Let me suggest a crazy idea to you here. What if these guys aren't in their traditional roles and they're looking into an Awelix pickup here? That could go nuts. But with a little double knock-up.
That is plausible. I mean, we do.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but you could move the Sylvanas into like mid or something, or even ADC. You could be going crazy with the Thor support.
Well, not to point fingers, but in a scrim, Matt did watch me go the double stacking full damage sub bonus build in solo. So I mean,
Ooh.
he could maybe it is just thrown out there though. I mean, he could want to play that mid, of course, and that would be
I mean,
absolutely huge if it does.
I'm an absolutely massive advocate for Thor support. I believe that the Thor wall is one of the best peeling abilities in game.
Thorwall to me is a 50-50. It either saves your teammates or it gets you killed, and it either gets you kills or it just doesn't do anything. And that's just how walls are really in this game, unless it's like at least how singular line walls are. Not that there are many, of course. I mean, the same can apply to Ymir at the end of the day, which is of course a different structured player wall. Walls. Bans. We do see both targeted mid lane bans actually coming up from both teams. We see Vulcan and Scylla on Ping Diff side.
Mm.
Not really sure about the Scylla ban, but I guess if it's something they just felt like getting rid of because just in case.
I don't know
Because,
why on earth they're banning that Scylla.
and then we see Persephone and Baba Yaga coming out from VHS. There was a fairly respectable in their own ends. We see Kernanos picked up for Kozlat. Kernanos.
I do like the VHSS's draft so far a lot more than their first game, though. I mean, they've got the Najjar and the Tyr, and even the Ganesh to some extent can burn the beads. Because I thought when they picked the Najjar at first, they were going to run into some problems like the first game and not being able to get those beads out of people.
Yeah, VHS this time have a lot more beads burners. They have a lot more setup for them to carry their own kit. You can have a Ganesha roam straight into a Tyr Fearless, and that can throw into a Bramble Blast Cripple or anything. So a lot more stronger setup for the VHS on this end, but at the same time, you can't ignore what Ping Diff had, which is a lot of high pressure and a lot of knockups, of course. Knockups always being one of the strongest types of CCs in the game because it's just unaffected by DR. You're just in the air for so long. It's just what can you do? Team Medusa come out from Ping Diff, not something that's been regularly picked, but still a strong regardless, because Medusa will always have a lot. Even if you don't get a stun on get a guaranteed stun on Petrify, it's still a lot of damage, and it's still a 40% slow. Even then, Medusa still brings a lot to her kit, and hopefully, if it's played right, it could win the matchup against Kernanos, but I think that kind of does favor Kernanos for the moment, but we'll see how it goes. We actually see
in the jungle.
and it seemed, well, your answer was it was a Najjar jungle, as we're looking at their mid laner being picked up and is currently hovering Raw into an Agni matchup, which is actually
not Raw, no. I don't mind him with the Najjar.
It's actually... Apparently we're getting information that they have swapped out the solo laner for this match, and that East is currently covering for Slither, which is...
Easy,
sorry. Sorry, not East. I'm deaf as all my life, because of course East can't play for lower division teams. I'm too old, man. I'm 20 years old, and I'm saying I'm old, man. At this point, I'm gonna have dementia by like 22 or something.
I'm not personally. I don't mind the Ra Najjar combo. I like what they're going for. It's cute. But you do have to question when it is indeed Thorbin time, how is that Ra getting away from the Great Wall of China?
Absolutely, and I mean, as it was something before we mentioned the solo swap, something that I did want to mention is that Agni versus Ra is a matchup that can be so 50-50, and it will absolutely depend on player skill, because of course, yeah, Ra can't escape an Ra will struggle to escape an Agni bomb, but at the same time, Agni, if you want to cast at least 2 bombs, you're standing still for at least a full 1.5 second, and that could mean in that time that can be an absolute searing pain that is just gonna hit right in the truck, since that got buffed to 110% scaling. That's a lot of damage. We do move into game, and we do see just about normal starts coming about from everyone. We see the same mid build as we saw before. Tyr is opting into tier 1 earring, which is not something you'd usually see anymore considering the spike cost, but it's still something good regardless because of 15, of course, 10 MP5.
I'm not. I liked the tainted steel from last game. I'm not personally sure about the bluestone from Miranda's here. It's good. It's going to help him keep on pace with the tier in the lane. But I feel like late game, you're going to be getting value against literally their entire team, bar Ganesh, maybe, if you get that tainted breastplate.
Absolutely, but I think more so, Mirandus is probably just trying to rely more on Barbed Spear providing that 50% anti-heal, but Tier's cooldowns are much lower than Cullen's, unfortunately, and Barbed Spear won't always be available to you because, of course, when you hit the 85 Rage, you're transforming and boom, there
Do you feel?
goes your
Yeah.
anti-heal. Gone.
I think the tainted would have went crazy though, because I think one thing that people don't take into account as well, especially with Najar at the moment, is how much her 2 heals are for. Like, I think I'd be
Yeah.
healing for like 600 damage late game. It's crazy. I do expect quite a lot of anti-heal be picked up. I just don't really know why he didn't get tainted again. Maybe it's
Yeah,
for pressure.
especially if we see Najar go into Transcendence, as the more power that Najar gets, of course, the more that healing will scale. And it will just be absolutely turned up. But yeah, I think more so, I think Mirandus wanted to look into that early game pressure with Bucolin and try and out pressure what Tier has, of course, because of course, Tier is a very strong early game lane bully, and if you can prevent Tier from being a lane bully, then by all means go for it. But I just don't know if Bluestone would have been the better choice here.
Oh wait, what's
for doing
happening?
that,
No,
because
Mirandus, no.
as we Mirandus, I think got a bit too cocky and dived the tower, and he just took a tower shot and fell to his demise, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. I'm not gonna lie. Miranda's kind of having a bit of a
I mean,
shocker.
he had Big Man Jesus on the lineup. He was ready and raring to go for a level 2 gank to get rid of Jesus, but he just a little bit too close to the edge of the tower, unfortunately.
I think he was playing aggressive there, relying on the level 2. Oh no, Nacho!
We do see a contest. We do see a 1-minute contest for the scepter as it spawns, and unfortunately, Ulox is showing face, and they will take that scepter, and they will also take Nacho's life. The shell just not enough to sustain.
Well, Mirandus is getting on some low HP again. He's getting put in some deep waters by this tier. I think he did get fearless under tower at level 1 by the tier.
Unfortunately, now
no!
Mirandus is now suffering the tear effect, and he will fall again.
He's really bringing a breath of life into this team here. He's really been the change his team needed by the looks of it.
Will all of this tear pressure be enough? Like, will he be able to continue the snowball that he already has, the lead he has, and really be able to pressurize that? We see a 3-man rotation coming over to this blue buff that Jesus has started, but will they get it is another question.
Jesus just going
He
crazy.
does get it, but will they be able to respond with taking away Jesus' life?
He's looking to run to the Ra for some help here. Oh.
A little bit of a zoning beam, and yeah, Jesus is just still just quite tanky enough, able to walk away.
Is quite a strong pick at the moment, especially with the buff to his 3 is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, being able to get just half of the effect of the other stance if you have the ability leveled is very, very strong. So...
Oh wow, thank you so much, Cheeto. That is such an epic contribution to the stream. Thanks for gifting subs. You rock.
Very, very base gifted 5 subs. We love and humble it. We love to see it. We love Cheeto.
Cheeto is very epic. Thanks, man.
We do see, Kozlat looks like he dashed in there, getting a little bit aggressive, and it is being returned to that in terms of damage. But no level 5s yet from the dual lane, so unfortunately not much there, but we could see a jungle rotation, and actually, Ramdas having a little bit of his lane pressure back. We do see Ulog coming up from the back.
Nacho, no, again.
Nacho caught, low health, lacking, but looks like they're more interested in Benny, and they got the beads.
Crazy.
They got the beads, and they get the auto attack off, but will Nacho fall?
Kozlat's going... Oh wow, huge. Oh wow.
No, he actually, the shell still wasn't enough. He's actually able to pick him up with Vampire Grass, but Big Man Jesus with the Anthem of Dawn.
I think he wasted his beads there.
I kind of, but at the same time, Ganesha Roll does have a really strong deprecating slow. It's only 15%, but like it can very easily, very quickly stack, and that can mean more damage.
Just think, given the Najar had no mana and the Ganesh's abilities were down, I think he was safe to just get out there. But then again, if he picked up a kill on him, this could have been catastrophic.
Yeah, that would have taken that small little lead that he does have away, and that would have given it towards Najar, who already quite a little bit ahead, being able to pick up the assist for both Nacho and for both Nacho and Benny. And
I think the sign of a good 4 player is how they use the walls. Oh. Nacho again, no.
Sorry, we have to hold it again as Miranda is also gifting 5 subs.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
Are we getting a hype train gamers? Are we trying to start a fucking?
No, I like.
Alright, that's right, Hunter. Alright, Mr. Production, you can't slander Miranda's.
Miranda's is getting some slander from the production team here, but we all love Miranda's. You're very epic, man. Thank you so much.
We just pretend what happened early game didn't happen. Look at you. You've already got your pressure back. You're chilling. You're just a level down. You're fine. We didn't talk about Ulox getting Dharmic pillared and did get, unfortunately, pincered and killed, but...
I'm not gonna lie, Nacho's having a bit of a stinker here.
Nacho is struggling. Ooh, Wild Hunt coming out from Coslab, but Benny does have the dash to respond to it. We see jungle rotation coming out from Big Man Jesus, using Berserker's Barrage to immune the Fearless.
Quite a lot of damage here. He's delaying for his team. This is well played.
And now Miranda, so we're just using Salmon's Leap, now caught out of position, and he just has nothing, and
I mean, it's looking like he's gifted a sub for every time he dies.
Well, there's only 2 more, and then that will be
challenge.
Gifting subs for every death in Smite game. $1 million lost. We do, unfortunately. So now I think Morton.
Morton, oh my goodness, you're so epic, dude. Thanks so much for the tier 1 subscriptions to the Galarian Smite League. You rock, buddy.
15 tier 1 subs just coming out all in the span of quick time. God damn. We love to see it. What we do love to see here is a little bit of damage coming out onto Soul, but he will just heal it up. He's doing raw things as he is. Right, so a little bit, we're starting to see a little bit of snowball. Well, I thought that Miranda's had a small little bit of a comeback, just fell so short, and interestingly, Isus being 3-0 up, being a little bit greedy, actually opting to just go for the full 2400 cost and going straight for those Manticore spikes.
I think that's fine.
It's fine, but you could have also in that time opted for, say, a full breastplate. That would have given you 20% CDR off the bat, and that would mean more abilities against Miranda, so that would be more snowball.
I disagree. Potential. I don't really think you need the breastplate on tier at the moment. I'm pretty sure the optimal build for him is Manticores and then Winged Blade and Relic Dagger is what we're seeing picked up.
Alan Mother seeing a little bit of struggle. Dharmic Pillars and Windfire Wheels coming out and will fall to Ulox.
What is interesting to know is, despite being a whole 6 kills down, they're not actually that far behind gold, looking at 1,500 gold.
That's it.
Oh, Miranda's my favourite solo lane against a subscription. Wow, what an epic guy. He's gifted it to a really talented player as well.
Ah, straight to the top shagger himself. We love to see it. Yeah, so interestingly enough, even though they are 6 kills down, there's only a 2,000 gold deficit between them, which is actually okay, all things considered.
It's looking more like about 1.6k. It's not really that bad.
Yeah, it's actually relatively good, and especially as we see the blue buff able to be picked up by a Thorwall from Big Man Jesus. We just love to see Thorwall doing damage, man.
Yeah, I mean, I said it once, I'll say it again. It is Thorbin time at the moment.
We did see a little bit of a Petrify come out from Benny, doing a lot of damage, but
Wondering whether
unable
we're
to.
going to see the Heartseeker picked up on this Thor.
And we do see, we did see the Petrified did give them the Scepter, and almost did do a lot of damage to Coslab, but not enough. Benny, Dash Core, Dharmic Pillars.
Nacho, not again, man.
I think Nacho is just unfortunately going to
Nacho's
fall.
been caught with his pants down here at the Gold Fury.
He does use Nature's Grasp, Wrath of Terror, but yeah, and we see Big Man Jesus coming in with Anvil of Dawn, Ulox forced to beads and ult out, and that's just going to be the end of the story. We thought Benny was caught here, no dash, forced to beads, Dharmic Pillars on top of him, but instead Nacho was the target and he was walking away.
I mean,
I just love to see a Tectonic Rift for a beads.
I want to see this Thor pick up a Heartseeker personally. I feel like as soon as I saw the war dealing damage, I feel like the biggest thing that could happen with him is stuff like Crusher and Heartseeker starts proccing on it.
I'm very certain we are going to see a Heartseeker, and Heartseeker, of course, being buffed, now only requiring about 350 power to get the maximum effect of the passive. Especially for on Thor, that 350 power is just not in nothing. That's just, yeah. A lot of
and
of course,
costs less gold as well.
Heartseeker always being a prevalent item pretty much on almost all junglers, unless you're like, say, Nemesis or something, or Osiris or whatever. Because of course you can just go heavy XC, and that's pretty much almost fills the role, but he's using the Lawbringer, looking down at Blingman Jesus, but blue buff's already down, so there's nothing there.
This needs to be a little bit careful. It's looking scary still. Although he has managed to recover this XP deficit pretty well.
Yeah, he's still just a little bit of a level down, but absolutely not too far behind. They're only...
Even as a team, they aren't really that far behind. The XP's looking almost similar. The gold only looking at 1.4 thousand. I think the difference in these two teams at the moment is in the first game when Ping Diff were put in the driver's seat. They really took control of the game. VHS have been given the opportunity here, but they haven't really risen to the occasion so far.
Falcon, coming from Kozlat, unfortunately did not secure his own purple buff, and Ping Diff will be able to walk away with that. A little bit of a scrap in the mid, but I Love Mothers could get collapsed on here as they make the call. They make the ping to make the mid rotation, but
I Love Mothers is
sitting there waiting. But they're waiting too much. They're waiting too long as we get an Anvil of Dawn on this hole and he will fall. And now Isla Mother is able to beat and just walk away. Yeah, that was just... And we actually did see Windfire Wheels come out of Ulox as well, so that must have been... One Matt was able to use the bees on, yeah, able to get away from that situation. Too much waiting. I feel like Ulox could have easily just walked up with Ganesh, with Legosaurus, and just take as much damage as they can onto Matt, and then force him into a Windfire Wheels while he's silenced, or anything. And yeah, they could have done that a lot more quicker before Sol, unfortunately, met his untimely demise of the Anvil of Dawn. Because of course you have to be patient in certain areas. You have to be patient, but I feel like there was just too much waiting where Matt wasn't trying to look at getting it. The Mothers was trying to look at get away or anything. He was just looking to try and he was seeing the Ganesh and he was like, "Oh shit, I'm probably getting flanked," but not enough to warrant panic buttons or anything where they're making the calls to go on to the Ra and get rid of him before anything happens to Mothers, unfortunately.
What I think is very interesting is when Benny was in a really, in the driver's seat in the duo lane last game, he was really, really far ahead by this point. Kozlat is 2-1, 2-1-2, sorry, and he's still managing to fall behind in XP.
Yeah, I mean, Benny's probably just able to take any experience he can get. I mean, we saw him earlier use Petrify to take away that scepter from Kozlat, which is still quite a bit of XP, and as we can see, where he's going for the XP camp, purple, he's going for that XP camp, which is more XP for him. Is he getting a
Oh no,
snipe?
Miranda's get out of there, no.
Searing pain on the Dharmic pillars as well. It's just an untimely death.
Jesus might be. Oh no, he's got the beads. Miranda's needs to get out of there. Nacho, luckily, he's going to be able to get out of this as well. It's pretty good, to be fair, for Diff.
He has the beads. He has the Mjolnir's attunement. He will
they should
get
be
out
looking
safely
for
and alive.
here.
And the goal seems to be just for that, as Ulok's starting up the Pyromancer, not in the raw heal, unfortunately, but
Diff might be able to get here if Kukulkan and Sylvanas get there. Sylvanas just spot them on it.
Yeah, Miranda's teleporting back in, and Nacho pinging. But just a little bit too late, and Nacho, unfortunately, owned by the Ganesh. Nothing to see. We saw in dual lane Benny taking advantage of all of the fighting being on right side, forcing much pressure onto Kozlat and proxying waves. Kozlat did back, and that means his tier 1 tower will fall. Which, once again, it brings up... Ooh.
Shiesty.
Ulok's just caught within a chokehold, and Big Man Jesus will take that absolute advantage of that, being Thor. And once again, that deficit is just getting a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller, bit by bit.
Yeah, I mean, if they hadn't got the Pyromancer, they'd actually be behind in gold.
Yeah, absolutely. That Pyromancer helped them. That Pyromancer actually gave them quite the boost just to keep that lead a little bit more. But if they didn't have that and they didn't immediately respond to getting that, yeah, they would have unfortunately fallen behind. Because especially Diff would have stolen it for themselves.
I think, considering how the first game went, it was very similar in terms of kill and how much momentum the team has. But I feel like in the first game, Diff were just able to utilize it so much better. Like, he had the Uller absolutely running things. He was 3-4 levels ahead by this point. And they were grouping up. They were getting objectives. The solo laner was just wreaking absolute havoc. And I feel like in this game, VHS got ahead. They had the lead. They had the ability to push it, but they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that falls on the emphasis of the tier early game, and unfortunately, Miranda's, with the unfortunate solo kills, just falling behind, so they aren't able to emphasize pressure with the solo laner. And Kozlat being on Kernanos means that he has a lot of high pressure as an ADC, which means that Benny kind of has to play it slow and in the team fight. Big Man Jesus getting picked out. Nacho being the next target. Dharmic Pillar coming out. Shell Force, but
that's a huge petrify. Gets the double stun. Ulux goes down. Oh, he dashes in, gets the kill onto the Ganesh. Benny's going crazy.
But it was all part of a 500
IQ. Isus is rotating in behind, followed by Miranda's.
Ooh, but Isle Mother's having the dash, being able to just get away from that Fearless and save himself. That was, I feel like that was really synergized well by Diff there. Like, Nacho, yes, was in trouble and he was the target, but just before he gets away, of course he doesn't have Wrath of Terror, but he does have a Medusa who can just walk that pre-charge her ult and walk around that corner with a Petrify, and that can set up into an Agni Bomb, and that's just a huge collapse right there, and that took away Ulok. So of course they burned a lot of ultimates just
Were we able to see the XP graphs?
We did see a little bit of a pull from Ulok where they used both Windfire Wheels and Searing Pain just to get rid of Big Man Jesus, and I don't think that was worth it for them.
Here we are. Diff actually pulling the gold for you. I don't think... Oh, they have to be very careful with this raw roll. If Ross... Oh, no, there's the raw roll down. They could look to pull
they're able...
They're able to secure.
They're able to get... They're able to get off of the Gulf Fury, and pressure means they can bait that Searing Pain, and now...
There goes the Thor wall.
And there's the Dharmic Pillars from Ganesh. In response, we have Kozlat dashing in, forced to use beads, forced to use Aegis, as we get Spear of Mortal Pain.
Oh, Benny actually gets out here. Ulux is looking for him. If we watch at the back, he could be able to get Benny here. He misses the slash.
But it does pick him up with a ring toss.
Easy's just being a menace here.
not really in any danger at the moment, but not enough being able to do anything with Ulux at the moment, who does, though, have Windfire Wheels available at his disposal.
I think he looks easy, so he should have picked up some more movement speed here.
And I think we're just going to see, unfortunately, not any objective, but we are going to see oracles in favor of Ping Diff. And we just go back to regular farming. I mean, Izus at this point, level 18. Miranda's, even though he has been removed from the game 3 times, just only still just a little bit behind at level 17, man. He's still pulling his weight, and it even showed in that team fight. That was a very strong Spear of Mortal Pain.
Yeah, I think considering the absolutely stinky start that he had at the beginning with 2 deaths in the first few minutes, I feel like he's brought it back quite well.
And is that Amulet of Stronghold, my beloved, once again on the Cullen? Oh, I'd love to see it. Soft spot. Oh. Amulet on from Big Man Jesus, just a little bit off the mark. They're looking at
oh no, Easy's
they get his Fearless. Forced to Fearless out.
Big O.
Right.
Nice.
Able to win with the Spirit Mortal Pain. We saw Dharmic Pillars on the Big Man Jesus in Nashville, which is zoning them, but
he's caught out of position here as well.
Yep, yeah, and will be picked up by Benny, who did also use the Petrify, but not fight.
They could look to pull fire here.
They get the Pyromancer's Soul, not looking to use the Searing Pain to try and secure it. Now caught in a chokehold. Caught in a chokehold from the Tectonic Rift. Now with the Rage Berserk form from Miranda's, just able to root him in the place of that Thor wall, and that's just death for the poor bird.
I think
call it Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you will. Not quite deep fried though. We don't really have a deep fryer in Smite.
Oh no, they'll probably make a skin for this.
You know, we have Burger Shing Chen, we have Takusura. They have to make a deep fryer skin for someone, surely.
Oh, true. I mean, what god would it be though?
That one's gonna have to go to the concept brain.
We could maybe be looking at a nice little Giannis skin.
Deep fryer Giannis. Oh yes, because with the passive, because you can make him go through the portal, whatever you would want it to be themed, and then he could just come out deep fried.
Wow.
That you're onto something. You're onto something.
Oh, I tried. Just taking a quick look at the build, we do see Kozlat opting into that crit again. I feel like if there was a game where he could have gone for the Crusher second item like he did the first game, it could have even been here and tried to push his lead a little bit harder than he maybe did this game.
Yeah, and this time he did opt for actually going for Kins as well. Ooh. You hate to see a Najah sash into a raw one. Ulux, Windfire Wheels onto our Love Mothers. Dharmic Pillars, unfortunately wasted, but it is what it is.
I would have liked to see some more movement speed picked up for Izus here, especially playing Tyr. I feel like Tyr just gets so much value out of movement speed, like items such as Witchblade. Not Witchblade, so Wingblade. I would have liked to see him opt into a little more of that.
Unfortunately, though, I can understand why he wouldn't go Winged Blade or anything. There's not really any characters on that team that do have slow procs, unfortunately. But we do have Relic Dagger still as an option, which would be really good as well.
Yeah, Medusa.
No. Oh yeah, 40% on Petrify, but that's only if they're turned away.
I mean, whilst you might not get too much value out of the passive, the item alone just works so well on Tyr. But like you said, failing that, a Relic Dagger would have went pretty crazy. But I feel like if you're getting a Relic Dagger, you should really just skip off teleport and just get a blink.
We do see Nacho taken into the Windfire Wheels. Unfortunately, Searing Pain was not timed with it well, and Nacho just getting a few seconds to live with that shell, but will still fall. Miranda's coming in through the backline, able to get a Spirit Mortal Pain off. We see a Petrify coming out from Benny, and we see Dharmic Pillars
Miranda's has the backline occupied here.
Wild Hunt on
it's a huge
onto Miranda's, but Miranda pincered and unfortunately having to fall below, but now Benny looking at the next target. Relic's coming in. Blink from Ezeus. Blink Lawbringer coming in from Ezeus, finishing off Miranda, still lurking in the back, no way to get out. Tier 1 mid tower will fall, and I think that's going to be a fire giant for VHS.
Wow, VHS completely turning this game.
Ezeus trying to look for some contest as he's looking for that speed buff, and actually aren't opting to start for a fire giant. That's really
I think they might be
interesting.
waiting for the Ganesh to
But
get here.
Ping Diff making a rotation thinking that they are on a fire giant and they're getting caught, but Agni Bomb's doing a lot of damage. Ulock's able to be picked up from an Anvil of Dawn.
Crazy.
And now Soul looking at the next target will be caught. Lawbringer coming down from
Gets the
Ezeus.
Fearless onto 2, but it doesn't really do any damage.
Big Man Jesus coming in with the Mjolnir as a aggressive Mjolnir as a 2-man.
a lot of damage here.
And Wrath of Terror coming out from Sylvanas. Dharmic Pillars came out from Ganesh in response, but nothing there. Howslat. And now it's in favor of Ping Diff, and they're making that call, and they're beelining straight for that fire giant, which once again I think VHS could have left Ezeus to zone at speed, and they could have just straight up started a fire giant and take it for themselves. And now in the zone, in the terms of a team fight of overextending with looking at Ezeus, and now Ping Diff walk away with a fire giant themselves, and now the favors have turned. Now the 3k gold lead ahead, leading by Ping Diff. Unfortunately, everything is just now in Ping Diff's favor. Unfortunately. And now we see actually a large group of minions actually grouped up on right tower. Someone will have to respond to that, and Kozlat looking to push a little bit far into the left, but not enough. No one able on the left side to respond to that. So he will get away a bit free. And now, at this point, it's just what can be recovered. Gold Fury is just about respawning very soon, and Ping Diff, all members are on the left side, and they should be able to take that away for free. And VHS, they just seem struggle. They are grouping up, but they're grouping up for nothing really. They're not looking to. They could contest this Gold Fury, but it just doesn't seem like they don't want to make any moves considering how their last team fights have went. Of course, they don't have the fire giant under their belt. Now, Ping Diff looking for the left lane and being able, hopefully stripping. I'm assuming they will try to strip all towers, but if they get a team fight that's in their favor, they take 1 or 2 members, that can very well result in a Phoenix. It all depends on who's willing to make that move, and we do see Ezeus finally going into a movement speed item, whether it will be Winged Blade or Relic Dagger. He is walking up to this fight, is taking quite a lot of damage actually. Now surrendering the tier 2 that's falling. Ping Diff looking to just wipe all the towers off the map, going for that tier 1, and I presume tier 2 in mid. And VHS will just unfortunately have to surrender it.
I mean, outside of maybe the first 10 minutes, I feel like this is the direction the game was going for quite a while.
Yeah, it direction of the game kind of bounced back and forth between, like, VHS had a really strong opposition. They had a lot of good turnarounds early game, and now unfortunately one little mishap in overextending in their side of the jungle, now it just goes completely within Ping Diff's favor, and unfortunately there's not much you can do for that but just wait out the time. That means that all the time that they'll have to wait, now it will be an enhanced fire giant that they'll have to contest, and whoever wins the fight, it will just be the seller. Well, not even really the seller for against Ping Diff, because Ping Diff still have T1 towers in both left and right side. They still have a tier 2 in mid. That would take VHS quite some time to take down, so even if they got a wipe at enhanced fire giant, it doesn't even mean that it could potentially not even end the game, unfortunately. But in the sense of Ping Diff, if they get a wipe at enhanced fire giant, especially if they have a neutralized wave in mid or in right lane, they can just walk up, take a Phoenix, and yeah, they could end, if they have enough time, they can actually end the game. And that's why stripping towers really is quite an important factor. And so when you do get your first or even second fire giant, make sure you just get rid of all of those towers on the maps, and then you can set up for the next big important objective, which of course in itself is enhanced fire giant. And with Ping Diff having that, what is it? It's Primal Fury, yes. Primal Fury on their side as well, having defeated the Primal Fury, that means that they have more objective damage towards objectives. They could easily start enhanced fire giant and take it away from VHS before they could even have a chance to respond to it. And we're seeing a lot of that now. We're seeing even now, 30 minutes before, just a few minutes, just a minute or so before fire giant does actually respawn, we are seeing a lot of grouping around enhanced fire giant. Whether VHS will be able to make a mark or make an initiation where they can take it in their advantage.
I have got that trebuchet pushing down the left lane you have to take into account as well.
Ping Diff, yep, have a trebuchet perfectly set up for left lane, and they do have to pay attention to that, whether they'll have Kozlat back or Ulox back for one of that means that they will be a member down, or they can just let it try and trouble through, and but that
I think Ping Diff are just they're sending four to split push the middle lane here. I think their plan is just to stand around at the CFG looking scary and ask VHS what their plan is when that trebuchet rocks up.
And Thor can absolutely look to split push because he has Anvil of Dawn. He's getting a little bit unhealthy, and we do see a Spear of Mortal Pain and a Warcry from Miranda's, but looks like they're just looking to de-initiate as a force. They're still a member down, but so far Ping Diff, like, as much as Big Man Jesus does have Anvil of Dawn from halfway across the map, which means he can just easily come into a team fight and start something, it doesn't always mean that they'll be there. You see a Sprue coming out from...
Big Man Jesus blown up there.
We see Lagosaurus coming up with a Sprue and a Dharmic Pillars sitting on top of a Wild Hunt, and that was just a lot of damage. Big Man Jesus and Nacho himself almost got blown up. They do pick up Lagosaurus in response. Nacho kind of seemed like maybe lagged out a little bit.
There from I Love Mothers.
Mother's able to get a pick. Miranda's teleporting back in. Lawbringer coming down from Izus, but I Love Mother still has the beads.
That was exceptional play there from I Love Mothers to get them out, and they do indeed. They actually turn it around.
And they do turn it. Izu's just getting a bit greedy and not respecting Medusa's damage, able to take them away. And Miranda's
backline there coordinating spectacularly.
Miranda's just keeping that zoning up and preventing Kozlat and Ulox just trying to start anything, Fire Giant or even and Pyromancer. Ping Diff taking away that Pyromancer for themselves, and now it just plays the setup of the game again. But unfortunately, Ping Diff do not have that trebuchet in offer. They did not, unfortunately, unable to get in the Phoenix as well, just about getting it to half health before it ended up getting destroyed. And now as we wait, it's going to be their VHS are going to be waiting for Izus to respond, so of course they have part of their back line, their front line, sorry, not back line, once again, I'm tripping.
The thing that Ping Diff need to start really working on in these fights is I think their Sylvanas is just getting caught out of position far too easily. I think he's putting himself into bad positions and not taking into account that he's on Sylvanas, he's on a mobile god.
Yeah, a lot of Sylvanas is a pick that in the sense that yes, if you aren't careful, you will get out of position very, very quickly. But at the same time, a good position Sylvanas can absolutely turn the tides of the fight, but you do have to be wary of a Ganesha with sprint, wings, and of course, having Dharmic Pillars available, that will absolutely chunk up Nacho, unfortunately.
Interesting that this Medusa's opting to sell her starter item.
Sell it for a Silver Branch. I mean, that's okay. You're opting to get 30% pen instead of
for the dominance, yeah.
Opting for 30% pen through Silver Branch and Dominance, and it does seem to be taking effect. As Lagosaurus Rex taking the Nature's Grasp and taking Petrify, falling. Agony damage just in a sweet spot,
Big man
taking your
Jesus,
locks away.
ooh, brilliant wall.
Anvil of Dawn missing, but the wall and the damage of Mjolnir's attunement taking away Soul's EZ, and Izu's just taking too much damage, walking away.
Wow, and that's it.
Beautiful,
This should be the end of the game here.
beautiful Blink Tectonic Rift coming out from Big Man Jesus, and that allows Battle of Mothers to get that response and get the flames off with the stun, and wow. Goodbye Kozlat and goodbye game.
Between the Thor, Agony, and Medusa, there it was terrific. It was like watching Prime Barcelona. They were ticky-tacky in their way through the team. It was terrific.
It is really, yeah. I think, yeah, of course, Medusa does have inbuilt attack speed with her wand, so she is able to get to that attack speed cap and get stacks off the Silver Branch, providing her more power. So I see why she does it, and it does make sense. Really unfortunate thing that I don't like to see here is that Isus didn't even get to finish his build, still holding on to that tier 2, which could have been either Relic Dagger or Winged Blade. Of course, I don't think it would have made too much of an impact in that stage of the game, but it's still, if it was a Relic Dagger, there could have been a lot more blink initiations and a lot more uncertainty and being able to create disruption. Just unfortunately, even though Izus had all of that pressure, all of that lead and everything, he just ended up falling behind late game and not able to do, and unable to present much.
I did say before the game even started that I wasn't sure about the Ra pick into the Thor, just because he has no way of getting away from the wall.
Yeah, and even then, versus Nacho, Ra and Sylvanas, you are taking that full duration of that knockup, and that knockup is a lot of time for anyone on that team to respond. Even with Mirandus's Spirit Mortal Pain, that's still another knockup. That's Raw, of course, is a character that doesn't have any mobility outside of just about 12% coming from his passive, or 15%, I believe, actually. No, that's quite a bit of movement speed. It's just a little bit less than natural boots, but that isn't going to stop a knockup from keeping you in the air and, well, taking in a lot of damage, or just that doesn't stop Big Man Jesus just coming down with the Anvil of Dawn and hitting that Tectonic Rift and say goodbye to your health bar. And sadly, the damage numbers represent that as well. 18,000 versus 31,000. There's just, yeah, we had Searing Pains, we had a few Searing Pains which were actually really good and helped secure kills or objectives, but a lot of the times we weren't even in the late game fights, we weren't even able to see a Searing Pain because he was already gone before anything could happen at all, really.
I think just the overall differences between this and the first game was that they were both given, like I said it throughout the game, they were both given the opportunity to get ahead, but I feel like Diff just did so much more with it. And when they were behind, instead of making that deficit worse and worse and worse and worse, they actually just made it. They didn't really do anything. They just sat back, farmed, and said, "You know what? Yeah, we'll get you in the late game."
You can have the lead all you want, and as much as unfortunate how it was with how it ended out for Mirandus, yeah, all they had to do, even Benny realized that, hey, I can just take this slow, I don't really have to fight Koslat. Koslat will be better versus me in terms of damage and versus the character, but I can just take this slower and I can just take the farm where I can and try and get a lead that way and be more presentable in team fights, or well, just take it slow, take it calm. So apparently we're having a little bit of a player interview, I guess, and Printers kind of is forcing that. So I guess we're kind of forced to invite Matt onto the screen. Say hi,
Hello,
Matt.
Hello. Hello, Matt. Now we need to be careful with what we say here.
Okay, don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be on my best behavior for all my favorite UD players. No problem.
Oh, we'd love to see it. On God. Yeah, how are you feeling? I mean, you seem pretty confident walking into those games that with the picks that you had, both Baba Yaga and Agni, relatively strong picks.
Yeah. I mean, the Baba I kind of wanted to run back. I had a bit of a stinker during mid-season finals, so I wanted to run that back. And I don't know. That god is just so brain dead and so free. I don't understand.
On God.
On
For real.
For real.
Keep an eye on you, Matt. Keep an eye on
All right, buddy. All right, buddy. No problem. No problem. I've got my ankle tag on for this interview. No worries. And then yeah, the Agni. It's just a pick I've been playing constantly. I think he's just dumb. It's just free poke. His damage is ridiculous. You can get multi-man stuns to just swing fights with the 2-1 sort of initiate. It's just an instant stun.
Real.
I think the god's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been. Agni has always been a consistently performing mid-tier character, and then for some reason they like to try and buff him and make him really strong, and of course they did that, and then once again they nerfed him because I was like, oh, he's too strong again. Oopsie doodle. And then he just kind of falls to average again, but he's kind of still borderlining in a strong area. He's not top 5, but just kind of sitting out there waving his arms, saying, hey, I exist.
I think a big thing with Agni as well is that people really forget how to play around an Agni.
Oh yeah, but because people don't really
into it.
pick Agni because of course he's just seen as he's the balanced character, so like people don't really play against him. So when they see one, and of course they see the bombs, and it's just they see their health bar and it's like, whoa, that character does damage. That's insane.
Yeah, he is quite ridiculous.
So, Matt, what do you think the main differences between your team and VHS was? What do you think really set you apart?
Well, VHS, they've got a sort of newish roster, a new mid laner in Solzy, with Zats going to Kins, Kozlat ADC. And yeah, I think swapping around with solo laners, I mean, team swaps in general, like, you're always starting fresh in a way. It's not really optimal. I think they've got the potential to gel. I mean, game 2, they gave us a good run for it, because we just played a bit sloppy early game. But I think ultimately, I think our team are just like, I think we're so confident in our team fighting for the most part that even if we give away leads early, we'll sort of just put the brakes on it a bit early. Like, we will just win late game.
Yeah, and you definitely show that in the second game, especially. Unfortunately, VHS had the lead, but you guys were able to keep it cool, even with the unfortunate triple solo of Miranda's. I just have to quickly know what happened to the comms during that. Was it just fire at that point?
What was going through your mind as your solo laner just sat there and died and died and died?
We weren't overly worried because we knew that we could just sort of like stomp when it came to late game. I almost did a curse word on stream. I think that I would have been banned from that.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. But yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah, you do it, buddy. Yeah, we were confident, so it is what it is.
Yeah, even aside from that, of course, yeah, you showed that and you put on the brakes. Benny, as much as he had the really large pressure in game 1 and presence, yeah, he kind of took it chill for the game 2, and you kind of like in a sense respected that they had the lead, they had the pressure, but then when it came to team views, so you sat there, you let them, you farmed and you let them kind of just do their thing, but then it came to like their misplays and your late game presence, it just turned in your favor. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, I think Benny's he's confident in his farming. He pops off late game. Like, whether we have Spark or Benny playing ADC, I'm confident either way. So. Yeah, all's good in Ping Diff land, apart from maybe some draft issues. But you know, it happens. It happens. Bice week isn't every week, of course. So.
Yes.
Thank you for that one, printers. Thanks for reinforcement.
And unfortunately, this is the last set we get to see you for a little bit because of your suspension. We hate to see it.
Yeah, well, you know,
Public
Things
apology. Go on.
happen.
you know,
Reduce your sentence a little bit.
you know, yeah, I did,
we're not gonna
I
get.
did say some silly things, and I just want to live a holy and moral life from here on out, and live in the light of the Lord. So that's basically it from me. I just
is this
hope
Logan Paul
that
apology?
my sins can, be forgiven
He
ultimately.
still hasn't apologized.
I have apologized.
Matt, is there anyone that you would like to call out?
What does an observable apology?
Call out.
Don't give him that option. He's gonna call out Nacho for benching Mirandus.
We're announcing our boxing league coming out.
Yeah, we're gonna box some fools and we're gonna make lots of money. I want to fight Sped just because he's a bit annoying, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree.
how's he still in LD? To be fair, who else
Why am I not in LD? Make me LD for fun.
Who
Come
else
on.
do I want to call out? Let's roll through Discord here. Beep, beep, beep. I'm looking. Oh, there's one in free agents there. Not gonna do that one. I'm gonna call out Lupo Dog and Tato. He's not a pretty cool guy, isn't he? Also, Moody, Power Rankings manager. What is this? Another week and I'm still number 2. Unbelievable. There's no winning in this world. I just want to know where this guy gets his little Power Rankings thing from. I'm just sick
not
of it.
updated. Weekly summary when?
No, I can't even be number 1 anymore because
right now,
I can't even be number 1 anymore because I strayed away from the path of light. So, but once I'm back on that path, number 1, it's coming. Just you wait.
By the power of the cloud person above.
By my Lord Jesus H. Christ, I'll just do my best from here on out.
I don't
No
like this
problem.
guy.
You don't like me? Is it because I'm religious?
Ooh.
No comment.
What? Okay, before.
Unbelievable, really. I think I'm.
Take
I
this
think
out in
I'm.
casual species.
I think I'm dropping from the league. Honestly, goodbye.
What?
He's announced his
Yeah.
retirement.
Printers.
Well, that kind of derailed.
Right, guys, we're gonna be ending up the stream here because Printers is having words with us backstage and he's not looking happy.
What? I'm only what?
What?
My hand.
Exactly.